Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi.
Today we have with us Ral West. Ral West is a serial entrepreneur, over 4 decades of work of experience, and is recognized for founding, scaling, and selling successful businesses, authoring courses, and contributing to various boards while also being a philanthropist and a dynamic speaker. She is the founder of Ral West Livin, The Dream, and the creator of a course for entrepreneurs, Overcome Overwhelm, create a smooth running business with less stress. She is also the founder of Livin the Dream Mastermind. Ral teaches entrepreneurs how to be the owner rather than operator of their business so they can have a successful business and live the life they deserve. Welcome, Ral.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Fantastic. Uh, Ral, I'll shoot a few questions which come to my mind immediately on going through your bio, which is so fantastic and so vivid and so varied. You are a serial entrepreneur, so for 4 decades. So let's start with, you know, how many number of enterprises have you started, founded, and let go of?
Oh, I haven't ever just counted them. It's probably a dozen or more.
Okay.
Usually several at one time. Then,
Oh, all right. That's
yeah, but
fantastic.
now we're doing about four,
Okay.
maybe,
And
maybe
how
five. Five.
and oh my goodness. And how do you do them? How do you do five together or four together?
Well, I use the same principles that I teach, which are all about how to organize the business so that you have less to do, and you're sharing the workload with other people. You have a team around you, and you use systems, and that way it makes lighter work for the owner. And I do businesses where I am the owner and not the operator, so that I can enjoy life, because we also travel a lot and oftentimes go off for like a month, and
Fantastic.
we still keep everything running.
So where was what was your most recent holiday?
Well, it wasn't a holiday exactly, but we went to Australia and Fiji and recently got back from that. It's about a 3-week trip. Visited family in Australia. I have a daughter who lives there with her kids and her husband. And then we went to Fiji and attended a Tony Robbins Life and Wealth Mastery course. So it was not a vacation, but it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a vacation in a sense because you did take a break and you did other things. That is absolutely fine. So I think that's what vacation is about, when you do other things which you don't really do in your everyday life.
It just wasn't restful. We were at it 12 to 14 hours a day. So it was
Okay, I take back. It wasn't really a it wasn't really a vacation. If it wasn't restful, it wasn't really a vacation. I totally agree. All right. So is this are these breaks that you take to do other things the source of your inspiration to start these 4, 5 enterprises at one go?
um, no, each enterprise has had its own inspiration, but I guess I'd have to say that being an entrepreneur is in my DNA, and I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And so when I was in my mid 20s, I guess it just made sense that I became an entrepreneur then, because I didn't like working for other people. I, I always felt like I knew better than they did how to run their company, and that didn't go over real well with them. So I was better off working for myself. And each business, the inspiration came from like seeing a need, and so we just did it. And my very first business was as a marketing consultant. And I specialized in the tourism industry because that was the industry that I grew up in. And my family business was all about Alaska tourism. So I moved to Alaska and started my business, met my husband, and then he started a business that I kind of helped him start, and we ran it together for 25 years. And then we sold it to Alaska Airlines. And along the way, we had started another couple of businesses, mostly like real estate type businesses. And then after we sold the major business, after 25 years at it, we thought, okay, we could retire now. But no. So then we had an opportunity to buy some small cruise ships that were being held in bankruptcy. And we could get them for a very good price. And we thought, why not do that? Let's do that. We have an idea for a different kind of cruise product in Alaska, and we wanted to see if that would meet the market's desire. And so we bought these little ships and found a cruise operator to run them for us, because that's one of my principles, is to use leverage. So we didn't want to have to do the work ourselves, So we found somebody else, and they ran the ships for us. They marketed the product. All we did was, lease the ships to them. And that went on very well for like 10 years. And it kind of ended with COVID because cruise line, all the cruise ships were kind of tied up for a while. But then we started some other businesses because we were looking at, okay, what next? Where's the next best thing in terms of investing and, making money? And we found out about multifamily syndications. So we jumped into that and started learning how to do it. And so we did. And of course, our timing was horrible. The market really took a turn right after we invested a ton of money. And, the interest rates climbed more than they ever had in history. And we're like, uh-oh, now what? So, some we win, some we don't win. And in this business, the Ral West Livin the Dream, the inspiration for that was really that my daughters were telling me that, Mom, you need to teach people how you're able to do all of this, how you're able to keep these businesses running, keep all these balls in the air, and you're traveling, and you have 2 homes, and you have a yacht. I mean, everybody wants to know, how do you manage all of that? And I said, oh, well, it's easy because I have systems. And no, Mom, it's not that easy for everybody else. So you need to teach them. So I thought about it for a while, and then I thought, well, why not? I mean, this is one of my passions, so why not share it? And I'm at a point in my life where it's nice to be able to just give back and, share with other people what it's taken me over 40 years to learn. So might as well let them have the benefit of all the, the lessons that I've had.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And that's a wealth of knowledge. Your daughters were absolutely right that you have a wealth of knowledge, and there are so many entrepreneurs who would really like to know, how do you keep all those balls in the air and not drop them and just catch them at the right time? That
Yeah.
is so amazing. So tell us more about the overcome, overwhelm, create a smooth running business with less stress.
Yes. So when I decided to go ahead and jump into this new venture, I didn't have any idea how to be a personal brand. And I knew that I really didn't want to do one-on-one coaching because that sounded like a lot of work and it sounded like a lot of time. I thought, okay, how do I employ my principles? And one of those principles, as I said, was leverage. So the best way to use leverage in this sense is to do one-to-many instead of one-to-one. So I thought, okay, then I can do an online course. I can teach thousands of people with just creating a course that's available online. I record it, I put it on a platform, and people can buy it and take the lessons, watch the videos, fill out their worksheets and all that at their leisure. So I did that, and that took me like probably, a year and a half to put that together, and learning all along the way, and hiring people to teach me how to do it. The technology part of it was, of course, something that was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to use microphones and cameras and all that stuff. So then after I launched the course, I realized that some of the people who had bought the course were getting partway into it, and then they were stalling. They couldn't get past the first like 2 or 3 modules, and it's an 8-module course. I'm like, oh, okay. So the lesson is that these overwhelmed entrepreneurs are too busy and too exhausted to take this course and do it on their own. They need a little bit more accountability built in. It's more structure. So then some of my advisors said, you need a mastermind. Okay. So how do you do a mastermind? I'd been a member of masterminds before, but I'd never done one. And so I hired people to help me put a mastermind together, and it just went live last month. And we have a few people in it. I'd love to have some more people in it, and it's exciting though. It's really I get very jazzed and very passionate about it because I am teaching the things that I had to learn myself the hard way. When we had our business and we were the mom and pop running the show, we were doing everything. And we were working, like round the clock. I mean, I talk about the fact that we were eating like fast food at the office with our young daughter doing her homework at the office and, eating fast food with us because we couldn't leave. We still had work to do, it was a terrible lifestyle. So, we were overwhelmed, we were exhausted, we were not healthy. I mean, we were overweight, we were eating all this fast food, never had time to exercise. And this just couldn't go on like that. It was not right. It was not healthy. So I, again, started learning. I'm kind of a learning junkie. And so I went back to college and I started taking classes in, organizational management. And we had a mentor, Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but we knew him and we were studying with him before he wrote that book. And, he directed us to some books, and those books were like, oh, this is the roadmap. This is what we need to do. And we learned how to create those systems, how to create, tracking mechanisms so that we could know where the business was going and, how was our marketing doing and how are the sales going and all these things that we could measure, what was happening in the business and kind of set up, like a dashboard. And everything that we did worked really, really well to get us out of that day to day. And we taught our teams, we nurtured the team, we built a culture that was all about, letting people be empowered and giving them guidelines and principles. And eventually, after several years of working on it, we were able to step away and hire managers to run the place for us. And then we, bought our second home on Maui and bought a yacht and started playing and living the dream. So what my passion is right now is to enable other entrepreneurs to be able to live the dream. Like we did it, you can do it too. And it doesn't take a miracle. It just takes using these principles and doing the things that we did. And anybody can do it with any kind of business. It doesn't matter what the business is, these principles work.
Fantastic. My next question would then come up as, what is your style of teaching?
My style of teaching. Well, I like to take pages from the books of other teachers that I've had, like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins. And so the teaching is very much interactive. It's, that's one thing bad about the online course is that there isn't any interaction really. It's just me, talking. But true learning comes from when you're able to do things. And so I want people to experience what it is that I'm trying to teach them. So that's why, with the course, they can do the worksheets and that gets them a little bit involved. But with the mastermind, I can guide them more and say, what's going on in your business right now? And how do we apply this principle to your business? And what if you tried this? And then get them to try it. and then come back and say, what happened? Like, okay, something didn't work quite right. Okay, well, let's tweak it. Let's do something a little bit different. So, it's learning through doing, learning through, follow my advice. Don't make the same mistakes I did. and I try to inspire people to reach for the sky. And part of the teaching, and I guess this is my style, is I pay a lot of attention to their mindset. Where are they getting blocked? I mean, all of us have little ideas that got planted in our head from wherever, way far back, about we can't do this right, or we're not that kind of person. And these little thoughts can really block us and hold us back when we're trying to achieve things. So I want to, as their guide and their mentor, try to help them through those blockages so that they can see that they really can accomplish whatever they set their mind to.
Uh-huh. So from this, there are a few things that I hear here. So one of the things that I would like to know is, how do you assess a mindset? That's one of the first questions that come from you.
Well, your mindset leaves clues. Just in a conversation, I was just having a conversation the other day with somebody about their plans and their goals. And it was like, yeah, but I can't do this. I can't do that. So I need to wait until I can, like, oh, really? Well, why? Why can't you? And why do you have to wait? And so you just kind of dig. And it isn't that hard really to see. Sometimes the clues are like great big glaring neon signs. It's like, oh my. So you've got an idea in your head that, you can't make money unless you do, X, Y, and Z. Well, that's a thought. What's the root of that thought? And I think I've done enough trainings with people like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins, and I've studied with Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra, I can say that. And there's so many just wonderful techniques that they use to, reach into someone's soul, if you will. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm as good as they are, but you just listen and see where they're really coming from. And it's not about applying some kind of cookie cutter formula to a particular person or a business. It's like really finding out, where's this person at? And as a result of that, where's their business at? Because they're entwined, the entrepreneur and their business. So if there's a problem in one area, it's going to be reflected in the other. So
Yes. So I was just thinking of problems and how an entrepreneurs face a lot of problems, and most probably every day. And I also understand, being an entrepreneur myself, I understand that the more number of problems you have, it's actually a good sign, because it shows that your enterprise is growing and it's dynamic enough. There's something alive in it. That's why you're facing problems. So what were the problems that you faced as an entrepreneur?
okay, well, for one thing, I don't like the word problems.
Okay,
That's a,
good.
that's a mindset. There were challenges. Let's put it that way. And a challenge is just there to teach you something, and it gives you an opportunity to overcome that challenge. So yes, we had tons of challenges. So what kinds of challenges? Challenges like in our primary business that we ran for 25 years, we had challenges like how to provide. We operated as a company that provided air service between Alaska and Hawaii, and at certain points we couldn't find a plane to get our people between Alaska and Hawaii. So that was a major challenge. Like, well, how do we sell our tour packages if we can't get them there? And so we got very creative about how to surmount that particular challenge. And at one point we were, using scheduled air carriers and just buying seats, on Alaska Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, whatever. And they pulled out of the market. So there was no one to buy seats from. So we found a plane and we chartered it. and we put it into the service. So that was one way to overcome that problem. See, because one of my mottos is that there's always a way. I don't believe in dead ends. So these challenges are just there to um, motivate us to be a little bit more creative and a little bit maybe more gutsy, because in some cases, like chartering a plane, it takes a lot more risk. So you have to have the courage to go out on a limb and say, okay, we can do this. Sure, we can do this. So yeah, so every challenge is just, an opportunity.
Perfect way of looking at something which is challenging, and that is make it into an opportunity. So that's one learning that we get, and we also learn about from you. We are learning now that it's about creativity. It's about how you get your creative juices to turn a pain or a problem into an opportunity. Lovely. With this, Ral, I would like to understand, how have you evolved? What are the points or the pivotal moments of your life which has made you what you are today?
Oh my goodness, I don't know how long this show is, but um, so many. 40 years ago, or even 45 years ago, I was just, young, thought I knew everything, and yet, and so I was pretty convinced that I was going to be successful, but I also had some pretty big insecurities. Things like, oh, well, because I'm so young, am I really going to be able to do all that? And so some of the greatest growth for me has come from achieving one thing after another and allowing those insecurities to go away, and to allow myself to emerge as the confident leader that I am today. And, because the me today is really not at all like the me of 40, 45 years ago. Um, you know, many more miles under the belt and experiences that have taught me what works and what doesn't work, and what I know I can do and what I can't do. And the willingness to admit that I can't do something, that was another major shift for me. Is like, okay, it's really okay to admit that I made a mistake and that maybe I'm not good at a particular thing, and that's okay. So being able to accept that, embrace it, and go with what I do know and what I can do.
So so did you have a kind of a litmus test that actually, helped you discover what you can do? Or, do you have a formula for yourself that you use so that, you can say that this is how it can be done. So this is what I've done before and I've been successful. I can follow the same formula and do it again.
You're talking about trial and error. So yeah, and unfortunately, the formulas only apply if you're doing the same kinds of things over and over again. And I seldom do. I'm always branching out into some new arena. So I need to come up with new formulas. And that's where the principles come in. Because if you rely on the principles, or as Buckminster Fuller said, generalized principles that are true in all cases, and it doesn't matter, what century you're looking at, some certain generalized principles are always true. So you look to those, and that can be your guide, and you have to figure out, okay, how do I apply that generalized principle to this situation? Because the situations are all unique. So I think one of the keys is, being flexible enough and creative enough to be able to say, okay, in this situation, this is how I'm going to apply that principle.
Fantastic. Generalized principles, those are the pillars then. So, with that, what would be your legacy, say 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line? What are the things that you would like people to remember you for, especially the people you're training?
Yeah, well, for this particular aspect of my life, I would like to leave thousands of entrepreneurs who are living a better life because of what I've taught them. That they are happier, they have more freedom, they're enjoying their friends, their family, their travels, whatever they want to do, and their business is massively successful because I've given them those principles that they can apply for themselves.
Perfect. And how do you sustain yourself? You have been working now for 4 decades. You have been a leader, you have been an entrepreneur, you have started new things, grown more things, restarted, and I can see a lot of times you have restarted yourself. How do you sustain yourself? Sustain your peak performance?
I think it comes from deep within. You know, you have a passion, and I have a belief that, for one thing, I'm never going to stop learning. I am a sponge. I love learning. And the passion for learning keeps me going because there's always something new. And like, gosh, right now I'm learning about AI. I mean, who knew that that would even be a thing? And so that, you get up in the morning and it's like, oh gosh, it's another day. And I'm just so full of gratitude for having another day. And, what can I make of this day? What can I learn and what can I contribute? And how can I make this a great day and lead into the next day and so forth? So yeah, I just think that, you find the fuel within yourself.
Finding the fuel within yourself. Oh, that is such a lovely insight and a beautiful learning for all of us who are listening, and our all kinds of audience that we might have listening or viewing, whatever. How would you like your listeners and your audience and our audience to connect with you? How would you like them to follow you?
Well, there's several ways. At LinkedIn, and it's easy to find me if you just know my name, Ral West. It's 7 letters, RALWEST, because my LinkedIn account, it's Ral West. My YouTube channel, it's Ral West. Facebook, Ral West. My website is ralwest.com. So those are all ways that people can find me. You can find out a lot about my mastermind by going to my website, again, ralwest.com. And on LinkedIn, I have a free newsletter. Please subscribe to my newsletter. And every week, you will get actionable strategies and tips that you can apply right now in your business. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch podcasts just like this and learn more and more about how you can make your life better.
Sure. So there are a number of ways that we can keep in touch with Ral. And with that, I would also like to end up with asking one last question on you have developed yourself and transformed yourself. And what would be the three most important learnings that you have learned from these all these different businesses and these different enterprises that you have created and grown?
Mm. Well, three. Okay. Number one is to take action. Nothing happens if you don't take action. And, a lot of people read the same books that we read, but they didn't ever apply what they read. We did. So that's huge. Another thing is to believe in yourself, have that confidence, have that faith, and just trust that you can do it. And sometimes maybe you get some of that trust and faith from whoever your higher power is, you know. Um, and lastly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think, the me 40 years ago was a lot more afraid of making mistakes and afraid of failing. And now I'm like, oh boy, great, I failed again. Yay. So now I can, figure out how to learn from that and move on. And really being able to embrace those mistakes and those failures as, opportunities for learning is a huge shift, and I'm very very happy that I was able to make that shift, because otherwise it's kind of miserable to beat yourself up for mistakes that you've made.
So true, so true. Learning and learning all life. Learning is it's sort of a growth mindset that you need to have and you need to imbibe in you. And taking the risk, which is absolutely right. Not taking the risk just doesn't work.
Yeah,
And with this, thank you so much, Ral, for being here with us. It was a pleasure having you. It was lovely listening to you and getting your wisdom. That was one of the best things that we got today. Thank you for being here and for having me as your host. Thank you.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.